Laboratory of Ornithology at Cornell University here presents the songs or calls of some typical African birds. They were recorded by Miles E.W. North, District Commissioner of Kenya and a member of the laboratory. He will identify the birds for you.
Here are the voices of 42 birds, all African residents except one European visitor, the nightingale. These voices vary immensely. There is, for instance, the delightful chanted song of the spotted mourning warbler, a near relative of the nightingale, and I've been able to record a song battle between this bird and the nightingale itself, which gives you the chance of comparing one of the best singers of Africa with one of the best of Europe. There is also, for instance, the gay chanting chorus of the red and yellow barbet, the powerful yelping call of the fish eagle, and the deep booming grunt of the ground hornbill. I hope you'll enjoy them. All these birds are characteristic of Kenya, where the records were made, but not only of Kenya, as most of them are found over a wide part of Africa also. Nearly all, for instance, are found in Uganda and Tanganyika, over 3/4 in the Sudan and Rhodesia, 2/3 in South Africa and the Congo, and half in Nigeria. The hammercop stork is a strange bird of great character and intelligence, which builds the largest nest in Africa and is the subject of many legends. It has a most distinctive call, here given first by a single bird and then by several in chorus. The marabou stork is normally silent, but it can make some remarkable noises. You'll hear the woof of the wings of this huge bird as it lands at the nest to greet its mate, and then the pair bow ceremoniously to each other and rattle their bills and squeal and even moo like a cow. The Egyptian goose has a fine, deep, honking call. Here's a bird making a soft, anxious quack, then honking loudly as it flies past. I think the following call is a song. The tropical African kite has a shrill mewing whistle and a sharper alarm call. The fish eagle has a powerful yelping call which carries to a tremendous distance. And at Lake Naivasha, where these records were made, birds call either individually or in families those near at hand being answered by others far away over the water. The yellow-necked spurfowl has a deep hoarse crow, which is a characteristic sound of the East African bush. The South African crowned crane has a clear, mellow trumpeting call and also some croaks. Here's a party of birds flying past. Liechtenstein sand grouse is a bird of the northern deserts which comes to drink at waterholes in the evening when it is nearly dark. Its normal call is a liquid quito, but it also has a sharp cackle when the birds rise after drinking. The red-eyed dove has two different songs, which the bird makes alone when perched on a branch. There is first the syncopated song, of which two variations follow. Secondly, there is the deep song. Then, this bird has a soft, deep bowing call, which a male makes when bowing to a female, and which resembles the deep song. And finally, it has a strange, reedy alighting call, used by a bird when alighting on a branch, or in general as a sign of excitement. You will hear wing flaps as well as the calls. The ring-necked dove has one song only, of which two varieties follow. It also has a bowing call, which hardly seems to be more than an accelerated version of the song. And it has a reedy alighting call, longer than that of the red-eyed. The laughing dove has no alighting call and only one soft little song, which I have seen it use not only as a song but also as a bowing call, and even as an aggressive call, with which it tried to frighten a red-eyed dove off some food. The emerald-spotted wood dove's song is a long, soft, sad little dirge. To this, everyone is tempted to fit suitably sad words. In fact, according to Roberts, the translated rendering of some South African tribes is, "My mother is dead. My father is dead. All my relations are dead. And my heart goes dum, 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 dum." The green pigeon's song is most peculiar. In fact, you would hardly guess that this song belonged to a member of the dove tribe at all. It begins with a clear, crooning whistle and then subsides into barks. The African cuckoo has a song resembling that of a hoopoe and on a slight rising cadence, cuckoo. So it is different from that of the European cuckoo, which is on a falling cadence, cuckoo. The red-chested cuckoo's song is just about one of the loudest noises we have and one of the most persistent, since at certain times of year the bird can be inspired to sing all night as well as all day, nearly driving people crazy in the process. The white-browed cuckoo has a series of strange, deep, bubbling notes which resemble water being poured into or out of a bottle. So it is often called the water bottle bird. The white-bellied go-away bird has a loud, rude-sounding call, hence the name. However, this particular call has no rude or anxious element really, as the bird makes it when perfectly calm and contented. The genuine anxious call is this. The silvery-cheeked hornbill has an immensely loud, bleating bray. The grey hornbill has a curiously intense, prolonged and rhythmical whistle. The red-billed hornbill has a rhythmical clucking contralto song. The yellow-billed hornbill has a baritone clucking song which increases in volume and emotion towards the end. The ground hornbill has a deep booming call, deeper than that of any other bird known to me except the European bittern. You might think such a sound would be more likely made by a lion than by a bird. The red and yellow barbet travels round from bush to bush in family parties, which suddenly produce this delightful little chiming chorus like Bow bells in miniature. While the birds are doing it, they waggle their tails about like mad and show every sign of excitement. The black-throated honey guide spends much of the day alone in the top of a selected tree, repeating this distinctive song at intervals. This honey guide is, of course, the famous bird which makes a peculiar chattering call to attract passers-by and lead them to a bee's nest in the hope that it will get a share of the honey. I've no record of this particular call myself, but Mr. Queeny has made an excellent one, which he's very kindly allowed me to reproduce here. The African pied wagtail is one of the tamest and most confiding of our small birds. It is constantly to be found near, on, or even just in our houses. And it has this charming little song which it often makes from a rooftop. The dark-capped bulbul, which I think the South Africans would call a toppy, lives in our gardens and is a pleasant, conversational, and most persistent singer. The spotted mourning warbler is one of the foremost songbirds of Africa. It was given the name warbler long ago on account of its long warbler-like tail. However, it is no warbler really, but a close relative of the nightingales. Though the song varies, it can usually be recognized by a preliminary chortle followed by a loud, clear, chanted song of marked and deliberate accentuation. The nightingale is, of course, one of the foremost songbirds of Europe. It winters in Kenya, where it sings a good deal, by day, not by night, and though the quality of its song may not be as good as in Europe, it's still outstanding. The place where this record was made is a large evergreen bush at Voi, inland from Mombasa. This bush clearly belonged as a song perch to a spotted mourning warbler who lived permanently nearby. But at this time of year he wasn't singing before sunset, so perhaps he didn't mind the nightingale singing there earlier in the day. Anyhow, here's the nightingale in the bush rather before sunset, singing away merry and undisturbed. Now he makes a few characteristic scolds. After this he continues to sing, but if you listen with care, you'll hear, away in the background, the ominous sound of the warbler tuning up. Soon he'll be in action. Suddenly and dramatically, the warbler arrives in the bush and opens his engagement with a couple of loud chortles and a fortissimo version of the chanted song. The battle is now on in earnest. I couldn't see what was happening, but pictured the birds fluttering their wings and posturing and making chests at each other, but not having a physical scrap, the struggle being confined to song. You can recognize the warbler by his louder voice and slower delivery. The voice of the nightingale is less powerful and higher in pitch, and he produces lots of fast runs and fireworks, and the scolds are all his. Now the nightingale produces some fine bursts of song all on his own, punctuated by scolds. But then he's finished, being reduced to occasional scolds, while the warbler is still in fine form with his chants and chortles. Odd to relate, the warbler has not done any scolding yet, but now he produces plenty of scolds, and good rude ones at that. Now it seems he's won, having reduced the nightingale to silence. To finish, he repeats a bit of the chanting song, with a scold or so thrown in, after which night closes down and all is quiet. The robin chat, or Cape Robin, with its clear, mellow voice, is widely regarded as one of our sweetest singers. The eastern bearded scrub robin, one of our very fine singers, has a song of great clarity and continuity. This bird lives in the dense thorn bush, which is preeminently the haunt of the rhino. The grey-capped warbler is one of our most spectacular singers, with a song full of trills and runs, in some ways reminiscent of the roller canary. The bird, presumably the male, normally sings alone, but now and then he's joined by a second bird, presumably the female, with no vocal pretensions, but she chimes in with a little unmusical trill you hear just when the male's bit is ending. The croaking cisticola warbler has a loud, clear song, always uttered as a series of ejaculations, which vary from piping notes to little plonks and explosions. It also has a curious wheezy scold, from which I presume its croaking name is derived. The moustache warbler, another spectacular singer, has a short song of 3 or 4 accentuated notes, followed by a fast liquid burst. Several of these songs follow. It's interesting to note how they vary. No two are alike. The striped swallow has a charming little reedy song. Here are records of 2 songs, first taken from a distance of a few yards, and then from within a foot or so of the bird. The slate-colored boo-boo shrike has a song which is a duet between a pair of birds. This varies a good deal, but is usually on the lines you will hear now. The male produces a couple of deep notes, clock, clock, immediately followed by a shrill whistle, whee, from the female. The two calls are so beautifully synchronized that you might well think one bird was doing the lot. The tropical boo-boo shrike has many beautiful bell-like calls which a pair of birds make as a duet. However, I've only been able to record one of these calls adequately to date. Here it is. The black-headed bush shrike has an extremely clear, powerful whistle song, which in my opinion is far too slurred to be really musical. However, each phrase is about the length of a human remark, and the accentuation often absurdly conversational, just what you would expect as a burlesque of a plaintive or argumentative person. The black-headed oriole is a bird of many and varied calls, some of which are reproduced here. The last is a most beautiful, mellow whistle. The pied crow, one of the most widely distributed birds in Africa, has a hoarse, upward slurred call. The fan-tailed raven has as its normal call a falsetto squawk. However, during the heat of the day, when the birds are resting and have nothing in particular to do, they are capable of making the most extraordinary noises, anything from shrieks to clucks. It is clear they are trying to sing. The birds were making these noises in a tree right in the middle of an African village, and the Africans were much intrigued by my outfit and couldn't be restrained from chattering while the record was being made. So you'll hear all this going on in addition to the vocal efforts of the ravens. This superb starling has a pleasant trilled call. And at times a number of birds are liable to collect in a bush and converse cheerfully together. The red-billed buffalo weaver makes large nests of sticks in thorn trees and constantly messes round repairing them. And while doing this, it makes a loud, dry, rattling call, which is one of the most familiar noises of the bush.